come enjoy some reminiscing to man's childhood.
So darn hot that my handle grip melted and left some on my hand. Yeah, and one final note on this. I do have to say I'm pretty impressed with what they consider cosmetically flawed, because oh boy, that has some stickers from a rental place, and that's missing that sticker on the back. That, I mean, I guess that thing's kind of ugly, but I can get that off pretty easily, I think. But yeah, it's like, because I mean, it could have been something where that label's ripped off and it's written on Sharpie, or just something like really way worse, but it wasn't. I got a box of shotgun shells in our Go box that has a little bit of ammo for everything. I am amazed, honestly, just because I didn't think I was even going to be able to get close, and I got it in there very easily with space left. So yeah, I'm stoked about that. Did not expect that. Bad thing is though, is the extra went into the Russian nesting ones on the far inside one, the Russian nesting ammo cases, because there's no reason to unnest them yet, really. And I guess I did get one in the main case too, so they're not. I have some semi-convenient, but yeah, that's not great. Yeah, and this bugger ended up performing pretty well, because what ended up happening is it just kind of did this, so it couldn't really move anyway. Which is probably the best, because Vader had a really short little clip, so it was able to sit right behind it and just in the wind all the time. Of course, it wore off. Here's another thing that's kind of interesting. I accumulated a bunch of memory cards throughout the years, so I don't have any idea which one is the one that's actually got my saves on it. Probably that one. Because it's... Oh, wait, no. Probably that one. Oh, this one doesn't have any sticker on it at all. Did Nintendo not make their own, or did I get all knockoff ones? Weird. I must use this with my steering wheel, because I still have that steering wheel, but yeah. I did not remember that. The Nagano Olympic game is apparently a Konami XXL Sports Series. Oh, and my first instinct was right. The one with my name on it was not the one that had my save on it from that first game. It was the one with the label that wasn't touched. I don't remember most of these, but this actually has 12, and it has frickin' curling. It's funny, as I've read that, I kind of vaguely remember curling on here now. So I know it's a different console, but that's kind of funny. Also, I thought Hastings was kind of regional. I did not realize it existed in Mount Pleasant, Texas. But it also shows, because DK Oldies is in Pennsylvania, it shows how far stuff moves. Because if you were buying and selling stuff like this when the PS2 was new, I almost guarantee you probably wouldn't get one from more than 200 or 300 miles away. But now people can ship their stuff there for credit and then buy stuff, so it's kind of funny. But that's the thing that's kind of funny about this one too, is because it comes with everything. But it was, listed as being so great, but it has a sticker. Oh, good grief. I mean, it is very complete because nobody registered their game. Jeez, why wouldn't you register your game? Come on, people. The one for Burnout 2 is in there, too. And here's my glowing blue controller. And it's kind of funny because as much as I threw stuff when I was a kid and broke stuff that way, my parents did not ever believe me that legitimately what happened on this one is I tripped, and when it grabbed the cord, it made the controller go like flying, and that's what happened to that. But I glued it all back together because I love this bugger with the blue glow. And I kind of forgot you could turn the analog on and off on the PS2 still. Oh, I don't think I got him. That good boy there is the main reason that this game is remembered so fondly by me. The good boy. Look at him. I think a lot of other people are the same way because I'm pretty sure the dog is on the cover of the sequel. That's another thing that's kind of interesting. I wonder why it changed where Triangle was always back up to this era. I don't think it was that way really by the PS3 era. I wonder why that changed. And then the other thing, having the default for your look controls be inverted. Yay. Because yeah, you don't really see that anymore. I forgot the time Dead to Rights came out was when everybody was copying Max Payne with the slow motion. I mean, he's full on dive. just like Max Payne. I mean, Max Payne is incredible, so yeah, it makes sense that you'd be trying to rip that off. There's even parts you control the good boy. Yeah, the old controls are funny too, because like Grand Theft Auto, I think the square was to shoot, and on this, it's you lock on with R1 and then shoot with X. It's very, very interesting, especially considering the fact we refer to them as triggers now. I mean, even on PlayStation where they're technically L and R2, the fact that we never thought to have those, or people never thought to have those be the triggers for guns early on in gaming is kind of weird. I guess part of that is probably that they were so used to using face buttons from the NES and early Sega. I think, did the Genesis have triggers? I don't think so. I'll have to see. I don't remember though. But yeah, it's interesting for sure. I remember this too, but I thought this was in the sequel where you control a stripper. Yeah. I could have swore this was in the sequel. Old games trying to be sexy. I mean, I guess it's still better than Right to Hell Retribution when the sex scenes are fully clothed. I've never played it, but I've heard about it. And of course, she has a butterfly tramp stamp. That's the other thing I find interesting is the bouncers. The bouncers shouldn't be paying attention to the stripper. They should be paying attention to their job as a bouncer. Kind of weird. Yes, and of course these stickers that Hastings stuck on there, at least it's better than the one that went around the disc hole, because then if you tried to get it off and you were using Goo Gone or anything, it got up underneath on this side. But yeah, it's those things are annoying because it's almost impossible to get them off clean. And then the clearly trying to pay homage to the car from the Fast and the Furious. This is another thing that's kind of funny. It clearly isn't going to let me do anything until I get through this offensive driving 101 thing. They get special treatment, but it's because of how big of a mess that would be. Because it butts right up to 360, and then there's so much 360, and then the 360 ends down there with one movie next to it. If only there was one more movie there, I could just bump everything all the way through all that. But to do that, because then another thing, I guess there's one Simpsons thing there. So I could bump that up there, and then have, I don't know, now I'm being a lunatic about this. Okay, so I did it. Because I do weirdly have my games in a very specific order, and it's like, it's a combination of trying to keep them in franchises, because I go by, if once I've beaten them, they get kicked into the backside. So basically, they're in order of when I beat them, which I would say beat them, because I don't really know what I would have called beat on Dead or Alive Extreme 2 or Rumble Roses. So that means the first thing that I actually really cleared was BioShock. Because then it gets a little bit weird, because once you start getting into sequels, I put the sequels together. But then eventually you get to the spot where they're no longer beaten. And then it goes by when they were most recently played. So on PlayStation, it's a lot easier to figure out, because I always try to use a demo disc, but this one being in a thin case makes that not work here. As the divider, which means I have not beaten much on here. Because I don't know, because that's what I started changing how I thought of sports games at a certain point, because it's winning one Super Bowl if you're playing short quarters takes no time at all. But, and then racing games are weird too. But so basically this is the order I've played them in most recently, and then these were all gotten well after I kind of had stopped playing PS2. And then another weird thing is this is one of the first 4 DVDs I got when I first got my DVD player. This is a series that only had 2 seasons. That was incredible on G4 before it poofed out of existence. And I don't like to boot. I've booted a bunch of stuff into binders, But I don't like to do it with things that are some of my favorite movies. And then I've also got a weird complex because until very recently, when I bought some used out of Redbox, I never had any Blu-rays that got kicked. And then I like to keep series together, so when I've got an Underworld here, it means I can't boot those because I was like, oh yeah, I could boot them. Nope. And then like the Oceans movies, I mean, they're ones I like a lot too, but then 11's is on Blu-ray there. And then you come down here and The Lord of the Rings, I really like that series. And then with bonus discs and stuff, that if I did ever boot them, that'd take up 6 slots. And then Transformers, because somewhere there's a Transformer movie. Isn't there? I thought there was another one in... I could have booted those. Interesting. Yeah, now I'm confused as to why those are even down there to some degree. Okay, so apparently these can get booted. Oh, well, I don't know. I guess maybe that's why I kept them. But that's the thing. At one point, I saved enough room to put one between that and that thing over there. I saved it by taking sleeves off of movies. I made enough room to put, I think, 3 or 4 more movies in there. And I got rid of sleeves, period, except for the Saw ones, because a lot of the Saw ones, if you don't have the sleeve, are literally nothing. And then the thing is, if it wasn't for the sleeve, tell me which Saw this is. So, yeah, there's some things like that that got special treatment. And then, because I even got rid of the sleeve that went on the special edition Doom 3 on Xbox. I don't know. Now I feel like because I'm feeling like what's happening here is I'm missing a Transformers movie that's on Blu-ray, and that's why it's there. And then I'd feel weird later if I had them booted. But I have looked repeatedly now. And then even some of the ones up there. Oh yeah, I guess I didn't check these ones. Kind of another thing I never really understood is just some of the random cases. Because I don't have them anymore because they got booted into a binder because they were annoying. But those Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Because I think, where are they? These Mythbusters things, like this one has 4. But when they're really random, how hard would it be to do one of those double thickness ones and you get 8 in them pretty easy? And then that way, because it could be consistent on a shelf, because that's what I was going to say, because that's why Devil's wadded there. And then because of Madden being all weird, that's wadded there. I don't know. I feel like they're probably just like cackling to themselves. Ha ha ha. Think about how annoying and difficult we'll make somebody's shelf. Ha ha ha. That's another thing that makes my analness kind of weird, because as I've gotten movies from weird places and had sequels come out way later that I didn't even necessarily expect to get and things like that. Yeah, there's things that are, I don't think I have any franchises where some are in the binder and some aren't. But there's some that are split way between the binders, because I have binders that are 256, 4 of them full, and then one that's about half. But then that's the other ironic thing is that last one, because it's the stuff that's gotten booted the most recently, there are, for me to say, oh yeah, movies I really like, I don't boot. Because, like right off the bat, you flip it open and there's Escanaba in the Moonlight, which, if you're a hunter, it's one of the greatest hunting, like, outdoor comedies ever. It's amazing. But that movie is right there. Oh, and it has Jeff Daniels in it too, randomly. But yeah, that binder is full of things I love. But then there's some stuff, it's a combination of I love them and weird rarity, because the movie Run, Ronnie, Run, I've never heard of it. And when a video store that's where I think the Army recruitment place is there now, right next to Little Caesars here in Butte, before I even lived in Butte, it was going out of business. Me and my cousin went there, and my cousin bought it. And we were, I think, 16 or 17, and we watched it at his dad's. And at that point in time, I don't know if I'd ever laughed harder at a movie. It's amazing. But then the thing was, obviously, that was his copy. And then I started trying to track down a copy, and I could never find it. And I think it might have been when Hastings was going under. Years later, I came across it in the Great Falls one, I think, maybe. But it was years and years and looking online and never being able to find it. Because that one, not only do I love the movie, but it's also apparently rare. Either that or it just randomly doesn't get to Montana at all. And I did kind of want to show this because this is kind of crazy. This bugger, when you talk complete, this is the Extra Mile. Good grief. Registration card. Oh God, when did this expire? It was good through 8/15/95 and 6/30/96. Megan wasn't even born. Oh my God. This must have been, maybe this was right after Fox got the NFL. Seems feasible. But yeah, this is kind of, and this is another thing that kind of reminds me of some stuff. Because back in the day, I absolutely would not ever. I wonder if this folds open. Oh, I bet it does because it is like a map feeling thingy. Yeah, there's the AFC. I would never throw anything from a movie or game case away, ever. And I mean, when I say ever, it would be the stupidest shit. It'd be an ad for some movie that was made by the same company, or an ad for, if they did a tie-in with Mountain Dew or something. I'd keep everything. Then at one point when I was probably at around 500 or 600 DVDs, and I was starting to buy a lot of them used, and they didn't have anything in them. And then a lot of stuff was coming with nothing in them. I went through and took everything out that wasn't like a booklet. Like it was pretty common to have a scene select or a list of what was on the special features or the special features disc if there was a separate disc. And I went through and went scorched earth on everything except that stuff. And then later on, I went through and did this with games. I went through and took out all the maps. And I mean, I have that couldn't have been in the case. Maybe it was. But I was going to say, because like I have the unit chart from StarCraft, but just anything. And I kept them, but those are all in their own place, which I've been thinking about going back and putting them back in with them. But yeah, because I've got they're all put away somewhere, but I have all the Grand Theft Auto maps from everyone I've ever bought, the original Red Dead Redemption map. But yeah, this thing kind of makes me, because this has a little bit of everything, because it has some ads, actually quite a few, and then the scouting report thing. So that's kind of on the lines of like the maps. Because and then there's other games where, kind of like the thing from StarCraft, it'd be like, because there's one from Clancy's End War that's like that, your tree of your various military apparati. Right? I don't know. But it kind of makes me wish I'd never done that, because some of the stuff that I'd gotten in like the mid-aught, or even, well, I wasn't really buying my own stuff in the late 90s. And there wasn't really discs because I didn't have a PlayStation yet. So, yeah, those usually, like the older games, the boxes, just got tossed right away. But yeah, it's kind of makes me regret it now, because just to go through and find some of those weird ads and those weird tie-ins. And then, like I said, on this, that must have been right after Fox got the NFL, because to have a thing trying to get you to buy a shirt and a hat that say NFL on Fox, that's just kind of goofy. That's another thing that's kind of intriguing is with Genesis, how there's some of the cartridges that are about this tall, and then there's ones like this that are more in line with the height of a... Okay, not a Super Nintendo. That's exactly this high as the Super Nintendo. I guess Megan can show that when she does that. I guess that'll be out by now. Because that's... if you want to see Megan play any of these, because at some point we're going to get a capture card and she's going to go back through and do way more lengthy gameplay on things people request from when she did the series where she played all the old consoles. So she'll have played the Genesis and that video will be up. And who knows where we'll be at that point, because if people are loving it, because I'm a weirdo and I kind of want not every console ever, because there's something like 1,700, which sounds so nuts to me. Because there's maybe 100 I've heard of, Because you've obviously got the Xboxes, the PlayStations, the Nintendos, the Segas, the Ataris. And then there's weird stuff like the Panasonic 3DO. And there's a bunch of stuff like that. But 1,700, that just seems nuts. Because, I mean, because even if you're counting like PS4, PS4 Pro, and maybe even PS3, and then the Slim, and then the Ultra Slim. Because even if you're doing that, I feel like I could struggle to get to 100. And like the Vita, because the original version was the Vita 1000, then there was the 2000 later, and I think they did the same thing with the PSP, and then there was also the PSP Go, and they very first kind of started going digital, I think, because I don't think that had a disc drive thing. But yeah, and then even if you count the 3 or 4 versions of the 3DS, even doing it like that, I still think I'd struggle to get to 100. But what I'm getting at is, if people are loving it, we'll fill in the gaps with Sega first, because that's another one of the big ones. And there's only, with having the Genesis, there's only a few there. And then we'd fill in the whole history of Atari, because there's not a ton there either. And we'd probably get E.T., because that's actually pretty cheap on DK Oldies. Surprisingly, because you'd think, with the fact copies were literally buried in the desert, and then when they went and dug them up, most of those weren't salvageable. And so you think, if it was that bad, a lot of people probably tossed them. So you would think it'd be rare, because it's that trashy. But, and then I wouldn't mind getting some of the weird stuff, like Custer's Revenge. Look that up. We'd probably get in trouble if I mentioned the things that happened in that game. But yeah, so that series might still be ongoing if people are super into it, and we fill in Sega, then fill in Atari, and then it'd be kind of some of that random stuff like the Panasonic 3DO. And Magnavox Odyssey, because that's technically the first one ever, so that might get done anyway. Regrettably, there was one at a pawn shop in Anaconda. We didn't buy it, and about a year later, we're thinking, that's a really niche thing. Maybe it's still there, and we went and looked, and it wasn't. That was when we got the Kinect there. And then there was a Magnavox handheld. That was the first handheld ever. Because some stuff like that's historical, whether or not we really get... Because, like I said, once we get the big three... Because the current big three, we have everything. Except for Game Boy Color. Which I could probably do. Because those are fairly cheap on DK Oldies also. But other than that, we have everything from the current big three... And then the previous big three, which I mean, there wasn't a ton of overlap with Atari and Sega, but the early era ones, because then obviously Nintendo is still one of the big three. But fill in Atari, Sega, and then, like I said, some of those small random ones. But because that's the thing, you can also comment on this video and tell us if you know of one of those weird random consoles and something that was interesting on it. Oh yeah, because that's like the ZX Spectrum. I don't know if that was ZX Spectrum. I don't know. Because I always hear it said that way, but it's usually because I've never heard GameRanks mention it, and if it gets mentioned, it's on What Culture, and they're British. But yeah, like if there's a game on there that you're like, this game's wild, go check it out. Because that's kind of like on Atari, that Custer's Revenge. Some weird stuff got through back in the day, but there wasn't a ratings board yet either, so that kind of makes sense. Yeah, but yeah, let us know. But I think Megan mentions that in those videos, especially when she gets down to the NES. And when she posts that one, she'll probably mention that in the intro and outro to say something along the lines of, hey, like any other consoles you want us to get. Because that's another thing, too, is we go in the order of requests, because if those videos get huge enough where we get tons of comments, if someone says, fill in Sega and start with the Dreamcast, that'd be the next thing. So this is what I was talking about, the height difference. I don't really know what that thing does. I wonder if these are far enough along that they had memory, and that was like a way to lock the memory. Kind of like with VHS tapes, they couldn't get recorded over. You had that lock deal. I guess maybe Megan will mention this, but this feels short. Because, I mean, I don't even have my arm straight out. Sega does what Nintendo don't. They have probably about 4-foot cords. I find this kind of interesting because they have the Panthers and Jaguars on the cover. I thought they came in 98. Apparently it was 96. But yeah, because it kind of goes out of the way to say all 30 NFL teams, including Jacksonville and Carolina. Okay, now I got to go figure out who else is missing. Because I know, obviously, the Texans came around in 2002. But who is the 32nd team? I guess go division by division, because you got Niners, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. They were all around. Broncos, Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders. Those were all around. Cowboys, Eagles, Redskins, Giants. Those were all around. Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots. Those were all around. Oh, is that before? It's before the Ravens. That's what it is. Because the Browns were still the Browns. Because technically, if you guys don't know about that, the Browns moved to Baltimore and became the Ravens. And then the Ravens, the Browns restarted themselves. So technically, the Browns have a very short history. And the Ravens have all the Browns' old history. But, I mean, nobody really considers that the truth. Yeah, and we really need to get a CRTV. This looks like crap on this new TV. It's also probably because this one has an aftermarket adapter, which I've seen things to adapt the thing that can thread on to, instead of having that, have it HDMI, so I need to get one of them. But yeah, that's an interesting old school Saints logo. Oh, geez, the Eagles went so that style. Oh, and the Gateway Arch. Before they abandoned them. Oh, God, the Bucks were still that one. Oh, the Broncos were still that one. Oilers. Yep, I was right. It was the Ravens. And no, the Genesis did not have triggers. It's also kind of insane how minimal this bugger is. Because it's like, once you're past here... Oh, there's the Fox Sports thing. There's more thing that makes it seem like it's a Fox Sports deal. But yeah, there's nothing. There's no scoreboard, nothing, anywhere. Who knows? Maybe that's what Fox Sports was actually like at the time. They just showed some dude and said Madden Bowl champion. I did not realize Madden Bowl had been going on since Madden actually existed. But yeah, this scouting combine. This is what I loved back in the day. Why would I already be on a team if I was at the scouting combine? I guess quarterbacks around the 40. Yeah. I don't know why I love this so much. Oh, this is different. That's the thing, because I know Aladdin was one that was way different on SNES and versus Genesis. But yeah, I swear I remember this being like 2D, and you were running like this. It was like a side scroller. Maybe I'm stupid, or maybe that was 90 something later. I don't know. But it's still neat. I just accidentally ended up on a trade screen. Cowboys, quarterback 3, Jason Garrett. Somehow A is to exit. Just weird. Season mode is kind of interesting because you can pick which games to play. So you could technically play the whole slate. I guess maybe that's the reason for the short cord, because you could plug headphones into it.
See, this is kind of interesting. Why do they have Michael Irving as wide receiver 2? That's kind of interesting. That's kind of cool, though. Despite the departure of several key players, the Cowboys have one of the most talented teams in the NFL. Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irving are among the best at their respective positions. Charles Haley is menacing on the pass rush. Yeah, yet they have not have Michael Irving in wide receiver 1. And then, key offensive play, key defensive play. Cowboy halfback. Let's see what they got to say about the Broncos. That was Elway. With Shannon Sharp, Mike Pritchard, and Anthony Miller as targets, John Elway has plenty of options in the potent Broncos offense. The defense has improved with the additions of Michael Dean Perry and James Jones. Yeah, he's pretty good in the UFC, so he should be good in football.
No, that's... What's kind of interesting about this, too, is the Broncos won the Super Bowl very shortly after this. Because I guess technically the 96 game would have come out in 95, rolling into early 96. So it would have been a year and a few months.
And the Cowboys actually also have one that's Cowboy SE in the 4-3. What was the one Dolphins had? 4-3 also. They say the thing the Genesis used to hold the books in is quite lacking. Just like little tiny tabs that the books aren't even big enough to get behind both. Oh geez, I can't believe there was stuff like that in whenever that came out. Yeah, this kind of proves it's the cheap adapter thing for the Genesis that makes it look that ugly. We'll see. Because like I said, they'll be out by now, but when Megan plays the original Donkey Kong, that'll really show what it looks like on here. I say that because that is one of the best looking games of all time. Even only being 16-bit. Or, yeah. Okay, so now that I've played them all, they're pretty much as good as I remember, but I think it's partly because I know that when you look back at things, you think more highly of them than they really are. So adjusting and being like, okay, this is an N64 game. This is a PS2 game. And adjusting, so taking off the rose-colored glasses and realizing what they're on. And I mean, Rocky Road still looks great. Beavis and Butthead even looks pretty good, even on the giant TV, because it's a 2D side-scrolling pixel art game. Like I said about Donkey Kong, it's kind of easy to make them hold up graphic-wise. Because it's like the original Donkey Kong is still better looking than a lot of side-scrolling platformers now. So, yeah. And I mean, obviously the couple on the N64 aren't great graphically, but they're still as fun as I remember them, pretty much. Okay, this is weird. There's some spacer. If you look at the shape, it almost does look like it's more for a Corvette or something, maybe. Especially because, well, not even a Corvette, because there's like a wing on the roof. But then the funny thing is then if you pop that spacer out of there, it doesn't really do anything. I mean, or much. I don't know. That's just weird because it's like, it doesn't move a ton, really. And then you put the spacer back. It moves a little bit less, but I don't know. That's very strange.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you in the next one.